Intrusion 2 is goated. You may be asking, what is Intrusion 2, and who uses the word goated in 2024? Well, instead of describing it to you, let me show you. Yeah, with that out of the way, let me make my case on why this game is awesome and why you should play it. Enjoy and subscribe. Intrusion 2 is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game. The little story that does appear in this game doesn't matter much in the scope of this video, or the game in general. The gameplay makes you feel like a badass. Like, it's really an adrenaline rush from start to finish. The gunplay, the enemies, the bosses all work in such a beautiful, polished way. To give an example, the first few levels start by parachuting down to a mountaintop, learning the ropes, then fending off a battalion of soldiers and a couple robot tentacle monsters. Then you get to ride a giant wolf as you tear through anything that stands in your way. Then you face a giant dropship thing with arms. Once you decommission it, you slide down a mountain in a piece of said dropship, fending off snowboarding ninjas with homing rocket launchers, and 3-story long robot worm snakes. And that was the first act of the game. Sure, the gameplay after that slows down just a teensy bit, but 5 minutes after sliding down the mountain, you face off with giant mechs that have swords and cartoonishly big guns. Intrusion 2 just doesn't hold back. May I add that this game was made by just one guy? Does it make it more impressive that this game came out 12 years ago in 2012? To say this game was ahead of its time is an understatement. One thing I like about the game is the physics. Sure, some people don't like them and find them annoying, but I think it adds a lot of silliness to the game. Pair it with the occasional Half-Life 2 puzzle and you've got yourself something. Another thing I like about Intrusion 2 is the enemies and weapons. While there only are about 6 weapons, all of them have their functions. You have the obligatory pistol with infinite ammo, the direct upgrade to it, the direct upgrade to that, the ragdoll maker, a thunder gun, and a heavy machine gun whose sole purpose is to make you feel like a badass. Which, admittedly, it does well. The arsenal isn't anything too special, but the enemies are. Intrusion 2's enemies utilize a concept that not many other games use, that is destructible body parts. Certain large robotic creatures have body parts that you can break off if you do enough damage to. The most satisfying of these being the giant tentacle monster's tentacles breaking off and then it bleeding to death, while later machines having destructible hands and feet. Speaking of hands, when you die during the dropship boss fight, the dropship starts fucking fist bumping. That leads me into my next point, which is Intrusion 2 has lots, and I mean lots of soul and depth in its level design. Like for instance, the aforementioned bosses celebrate at your demise. Props have way more character than they should, building the atmosphere that everything in a mile radius of us wants to kill us. Enemies when on fire actually run around in panic. Water freaks out when grenades explode under its surface. You get sneak peeks at enemies. And, is that one of those ponies from My Little Pony? And, what is that? A muffin? Well, the game was made in 2012. While the game has good attention to detail, there's some minor pacing issues. I'm apprehensive to even call them pacing issues. The game has a lot of ideas that it implements, but a few minutes later forgets about. Not that that's a bad thing, the game just innovates really fast. I just can't help but talk about how cool and fun this game is. It really is noticeable that this game was a labor of love. The soundtrack is also absolutely fire. If you have $8, I highly recommend this game. Well, to close it off, you might be wondering, if Intrusion 2 is so great, then why isn't there Intrusion 3, Well, you won't believe what I'm about to tell you. If you really, and I mean really carefully, look in YouTube's endless catalog of videos, you might just find Gameplay VIP #1 Stalker Fight, uploaded about half a year ago from the official studio that made Intrusion. Boom. That's about it. Disassemble your local dropship and subscribe.